Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Spot Connection with the Witty Comic Book Roundup. We've made it through most of the roundup. Down some, keep on trucking. Kicking these off. We've got Alien #2. So where we left off, Zasha, our young heroine from the last Alien series, is now grown up, and she is working for Weyland-Yutani under the alias of Cole. She's returned to the ship that she's a crew member on is returned to the ice moon of LV-695 for a salvage operation. However, the a member of the Yutani family, Jun Yutani, has arrived to basically ensure that the raising of the Boreas goes as intended. Zasha, however, has her own goal, which is to basically get into the remains of the base and save the what was his name? And recover the remains of Dayton, the synth that was basically her father figure while on the moon, and also seemingly sacrificed himself to so she could escape. So the issue opens with the salvage operation going underway, seeming to work out well as it's supposed to. Zasha of course, goes on her mission, makes her way to the remains of the base. Some of the crew of the Boreas, or rather not the crew of the Boreas, but some of the initial salvage crew who were sent aboard the Boreas to make sure it was, basically to oversee everything before the salvage operation begins, have been cocooned, and their chest bursts erupt. There's a flashback to 2168 at the Cloley mining colony. A miner ended up with coming upon a facehugger. The synth noted that there was an embryo implanted, and the doctor attempted to remove it. However, upon doing so, the alien the xenomorph was, well, born. Zasha's crew is is beginning to wonder where she's gone off to. Cole is usually not someone that is someone that they could be counted upon, after all. Jun Yutani wants her property returned, obviously. Zasha has to deal with a few xenomorphs as she makes her way through. Wrecking additional parts of the base to pin them. Interesting thing to note here is that the rifle she's using is of the same design style as the weapons utilized of the weapons that were used in Alien Resurrection, as opposed to Aliens. But the salvage crew is trying to get a hold of those aboard the Boreas, receiving no response. The synth in 2168 has apparently been somewhat guarding the xenomorph as it's grown. Apparently the miner in question was a foreman. and another artificial person has taken the role, and seems to release the xenomorph. But Sasha continues to make her way through the remains of the base, eventually finding what's left of Dayton, who is still functional, even if he's been pretty much ripped in half. But he appears to have made some modifications to ensure he still has power. But that is where the issue ends. Interesting. I enjoyed the primary story, but the story set in 2168, that's interesting. Note that it takes place 10 years before Aliens. So the company potentially having access to a xenomorph specimen in 2168 as opposed to when Burke had orders to retrieve a specimen in 2178. Makes for an interesting plot point. Though it would seem that they only had that specimen for a brief period, so we're probably likely unable to do any real studies on it. Moving on, though, to our next book, we've got Darth Vader number 41, continuing Darth Vader's tie into the Dark Droids crossover. Where we left off, Vader had allowed himself to be taken by the Scourge. And it turns out that he has basically localized, put the Scourge into a localized circuit within his armor, allowing him to be able to control droids, but it would be on a specific frequency. Vader makes his own Scourge droids. Group of Imperial troops are sent to bring in Vader after his attack on the Emperor. Vader's droids take out the Imperials, while Vader is debating the efficacy of what he's doing with the Scourge itself. He ends up having to as the Scourge uses one of his controlled ships to try and destroy Vader. Vader sacrifices the droids that he sent against the Imperials, and then wades through an additional batch of Scourge controlled droids, taking over one of the ships. Though the ship is attacked by additional ships. And Vader's all for working with Scourge, with it, so long as he is in command. That said, the strain of controlling multiple droids is wearing on Vader's mind. And but it does seem that Vader's triumphant over that portion of the Scourge that was sent after him. Meanwhile, a shadowed group of Imperials is debating what to do about Vader and the Empire, and the Emperor. This group, known as the Imperial Schism, consists of Sly Moore and two others. And that is where the issue ends. See, we're setting up more. This is, I think, the last Dark Droids tie-in for Darth Vader. As I recall, the storyline ends later next week, I assume. But moving on to our next book, we've got Dr. Aphra, number 39. Where we left off, Aphra and Sana had rescued Magna Tolvan from the Scourge. However, the Scourge had its eyes set on Domina Tage. On the Inquisitor, well, the Scourge droids are coming, and Domina uses her plasma blade weapon as best she can to deal with the Scourge, while her personal assistant, Lapin Tage, comes to save her. However, Domina makes a point of putting Lapin into an escape pod, while the Scourge attempts to make an offer to Domina. On the Archangel floor, Just Lucky, who assisted in the rescue of Magna, realizes that this is that's happening everywhere, including Canto Bight, where his family and his lover are. So he kind of needs to get back there. After all, most of the casino staffs, the staffs of the casinos are droids. And so, just like he's off on Canto Bight, and Aphra reprograms one of the spider droids, giving it a different payload. When it hops from droid to droid, it'll inject a virus that targets the Scourge, incapacitating the bodies it's stolen. In theory, anyway. But they've only got one. They've only got one, so they better hope it works. And Sana tells Aphra that she did good, and that they're going to figure this out together. But they make it to the Inquisitor. Tage faces a massive orbital firefight. But the idea becomes that the idea of the Scourge is to basically take over Domina Tage. After all, Tageco has is quite the innovator. Tage has designed many of the Empire's favorite ships, weapons, droids. But well, of course it wants more knowledge. But Domina states that sure, problem is there's a kill switch. She's an implant that if she happens to die, will actually wipe the Tage Corp computers. Sana and Aphra have snuck aboard, and their spider droid works. And even manages to spread to the other spider droids. However, an option is one of the similar droids to the spider droids is used on Domina, and as they get closer to as Sana and Aphra get closer to Domina, Aphra sets off an EMP device, which affects Domina's implants, so they're going to figure out a way to get them back on. Sana and Domina head to the ship. Aphra stays behind, takes control of the Inquisitor, with the plan being to basically use the hyperdrive to not just crash it onto a planet, but into a planet. And the issue ends with Aphra telling Sana she loves her and activating the Inquisitor's hyperdrive. This is not the last issue. And as we saw in Revelations, Aphra survives long enough to at least have yet another bounty put on her head. So, moving on though to our last book for the moment. In fact, we've got Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong. where we left off, Shazam had joined into the fray against Godzilla. While the lightning of Shazam did manage to give Godzilla pause, well, Superman had taken a pretty decent blast of atomic breath. But the Titans are all over the place. There's one at Iron Heights, which is causing trouble for all of the inmates. Flash is trying to deal with them, but Supergirl shows up and helps out, along with her assistant Green Lantern. In Metropolis, Batman's still unconscious. Hawkgirl's regaining consciousness, and Atom Smasher enters the fray. Good thing he can get as big as Godzilla. But, yeah, Godzilla's still able to deal out the hits. But Billy turns it back into Shazam. And the realization is that there's not a heartbeat being heard from Superman. It seems that he's dead. Hawkgirl is tasked with getting Superman to the Fortress of Solitude. And Godzilla begins the process of leaving Metropolis. Members of the Legion of Doom show up. Flash being frozen by Captain Cold. On the Themyscira, a Titan has shown up. And Donna Troy and Diana have a plan. Basically, use their lassos as a means of figuring out what's going on with it. And it leaves Paradise Island, but Diana realizes that something is calling the Titan. Barry manages to get free as the Titan attacking Iron Heights is trying to eat Green Lantern, who's currently in a sphere of energy from his ring. Barry does what he can to help free Hal, while Kara also shows up and kind of passes along the good news and or the bad news about Superman. On Skull Island, Ollie's dealing with the Titans. Kong is, being Kong and dealing with the other creatures of Skull Island. Supergirl tries to talk to Kong, also punches him in the mouth. More of the Justice League is forming up. Shazam passes along the bad news to Batman, Cyborg, Batwoman, and Black Canary about Superman. Though Bruce states that Superman is not dead, and says that no one say a word to Lois about the whole thing. In the Chihuahuan Desert, it seems that Lex Luthor has discovered the Monarch monitoring facility, or it's something else. I'm not sure which, but that is where the issue ends. This has been a fun run. I have to admit, kind of surprised that we have at least a momentary death of Superman, but clearly Superman didn't get better. Anyways, that's going to do it for now. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Mastodon, Patreon, and PayPal can be found in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off saying, live long and rock hard. Happy holidays, everyone.